Happy Whiskey Wednesday, everybody. This is the Whiskey Lifestyles Women in Whiskey series. This is our new episode. So happy Wednesday. This week, we are going to take a little bit of a different twist. We've talked to some distillers. We've talked to some blenders. We've talked to people who pick barrels. We've talked to people who are in media. This week, we're going to talk to somebody who is at a distillery, but is front of house. So welcome, Kelci from Kings County Distillery. How are you, Kelci?
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm great. And yourself?
I'm good. It is, it's great to talk to you. I've heard a lot about Kings County. I've seen the beautiful bottles you guys have, but we'll talk a little bit more about Kings County. Let's first talk about you. How did you introduce yourself? How did you get into whiskey? What's your whiskey origin story?
Sure. So, again, my name is Kelci Koonce. So I am a native New Yorker from Harlem, but my family is from the South. So we are very familiar with moonshine and how, corn liquor and all those things. So it's definitely been around for a bit, but I didn't really get into the whiskey industry until I actually signed up to join Windward Whiskey New York City chapter. So they are right here in New York City. So one year during COVID, it was during the thick of the pandemic. So I did a virtual tasting with Kings County Distillery and Jen Blair, who did a great job presenting. And I was just blown away. Like, the whiskey was great. The tasting was great. And I was just like, I would love to volunteer here. So I followed them on Instagram, and I followed her. And then I saw they were posting for tour guides. And I was like, oh, this would be a great opportunity. So I reached out, and then I went to the distillery to interview. I met Devin, who's awesome. And it just felt right. And then boom, next couple of weeks, I was shadowing and then starting as a tour guide. So here I am now.
Okay, so less than 2 years in? I mean,
yeah.
Okay, wow. All right. So
I started May last year, 2021. Yep.
Okay, so a year. So happy belated anniversary.
Thank you.
Tell me, there you go, Kings County representing on the t-shirt. Tell me a little bit about the life of a tour guide. What is a tour guide at a distillery like, and then specifically Kings County? What is so unique about giving people that tour?
Yeah, so we are pretty much, the educators of our whiskey. We are the ones that show you around, show you about how distilling works, give a little bit of history about our location, what we do, how we produce it. We're very transparent about how we produce our products, which I think is great. And we are really here to, one, educate and then make people feel good about whiskey. There's a lot of people that you'll get on the tours where they're very new to it. They've never really had whiskey. They've had one their whole life. And they're like, I don't know much about it. And, they get to us and then they leave very enthusiastic about trying more and learning about what true American whiskey is. And I think Kings County does a great job at that.
Okay, and that is so interesting. I often think that when I go to a distillery or when I'm doing distillery tours, I'm always thinking it's the nerds, it's the people who are really into it. That is so. So what brings in a whiskey novice into distillery? That's such a unique POV.
Yes, I mean, you will get your whiskey nerds. You'll have your people who done tours for years, have these huge collections of whiskey, and they come to Kings County, and it's just a whole different experience. We're a small craft distillery. It's our building is beautiful. Our design is beautiful. And our pot stills are beautiful. And I think that's where most people get intrigued at. They come in, they see the pot stills, and it's just like, whoa. And it's interesting to see how the scale. So you'll see people who are really enthusiastic about it. And then there's the other group that they figure they know it all about it, which is not a bad thing, but they also leave learning something new as well.
So we have talked a little bit about Kings County. You said beautiful space. It is in an amazing location. Give us the Kings County introduction when someone walks in, so they understand. So our audience understands where Kings County is, because I think they might be pleasantly surprised if you don't know what Kings County is. But then also just the history of the brand. It's so unique.
So we are located at the Brooklyn Navy Yard. So we are by a lot of other buildings as well. So we are the old paymaster. So the building was made in 1899. So if you were a person in the Navy or you were serving, that was where you would go to get your paycheck. So now it's our distillery. So the location itself is also cool because that's where the Brooklyn Whiskey Wars used to take place. So it's a nice little history fact that we like to include, and it goes into our brand as well. We are creators of true American craft whiskey. We are the oldest whiskey distillery in New York City since Prohibition. So that has a lot of honor and a lot of history in it in itself. So when we're discussing our story about how we got started, Colin was making his batch of moonshine and led into this awesome brand that we love and talk about today. And I think when people hear the story, that it wasn't from a person who was in a place where they had, all this big fancy stuff. It was just like, nope, a person who was just enthusiastic about it and was just loving the spirit and did it because he loved the spirit. So go ahead. Sorry. No, I was saying, so that takes that takes us to a place of, you get some heart in the story, and that comes alive in our spirits.
And that's what I love about craft distillers in general, and particularly, to your point, yes, this is not your typical, and they're beautiful and amazing. And we talk to people, it's not your typical Kentucky bourbon experience. It is in the heart of Brooklyn. It is on the water. It is so unique. I mean, even the bottle. So if you can tell the folks a little bit about why that Kings County bottle looks so unique compared to what you normally see on shelves at bars and stores.
Yeah. So our bottle is exactly the way it is on purpose. Everything that we do here is intentional. So the bottle is, we want you to pay attention to the spirit, not any of the label. So it's nice, clean, and crisp, very minimalist. And it just lets the buyers and everybody enthusiastic about it know that you are here for the product, not for the label, not for any of the big marketing stuff behind it. Your purchase is in the bottle. And I love that too, because, our little 200 milliliters, they're actually designed to go right in your back pocket. So
I was going to say that. I didn't know if that was okay, because depending on what state you're in, it might not be open carry. But
there you go. Absolutely. Don't do it now, but they do have that fitting.
Okay. So you said whiskey fan before this. When this year plus, what have you learned about whiskey? What have you learned about whiskey that surprised you?
Good question. What did I learn about whiskey that surprised me? So my favorite part of whiskey, besides drinking it, obviously, is the distilling part. Mm-hmm. And working at Kings County really let me take a deeper dive into how much your yeast plays into your production. So yes, I knew yeast was an important contributor to how the flavor of your whiskey, but to see it up front was a whole different experience. So just really seeing the fermentation process live and up front for me was a great learning experience.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what have you learned about yourself in this past year doing this job, talking to all these folks, having, drinking all this good whiskey? Mm-hmm. What have you learned about Kelci?
I've learned I really love talking to people about whiskey. I really enjoy, the whole dynamic of, you're drinking good whiskey with people and you're having a conversation because, whiskey is about stories. And you get together with some great people and you have some whiskey stories. And it's just nice to see everybody's reaction, experience it. And even the ones that are not confirming. I always tell people when we talk about whiskey, you can say the things you don't like. This is a free, open space to say whatever comes to mind. If you don't like it, okay, let's talk about it. If you think this is trash, all right, let's talk about it. I don't feel like there's anything that's off limits when it comes to whiskey, but I truly enjoy critiquing it and talking to people about it while I'm doing so.
Okay. And what in those experiences, what are some of the more interesting customers' responses, experience you have? Do you have a favorite tour story that you're like, oh my God, this one time?
I do. One of my favorite things about it is when people are really blown away that it's not a traditional Kentucky bourbon. And then there was one day, it was in the summertime too, and there was a sweet senior who came on our tour. She had to be about 92. And I was concerned about her walking up the stairs because, part of our tour goes upstairs. So I told her, I was like, listen, I will give you the tour on the lower level so you don't have to walk up the stairs. And she was just like, no, I came here for the whiskey. So I'm walking up the stairs. And it was just such a joy to watch her pull herself up those stairs just so she could have that full tasting experience. And it was just honorable that somebody, in that state was still got the heart for the whiskey, especially our whiskey.
No, that is amazing. And, as somebody who you talked earlier about, you have a novice who will come in, somebody who is, they may be coming just for the experience and not be into whiskey or not have tried a lot of whiskeys. What is how do you give them that introduction to whiskey in general? You talked a little bit about having your opinion. And as you do a tasting, I think everyone does tastings differently. How do you guide people through their first whiskey experience?
I always tell people, firstly, take your time. I feel like a lot of people who are new to drinking any spirit kind of rush it because they're trying to get past the alcohol part. And one of the things I try to make sure when I'm guiding a tasting is that really take your time with the whiskey, hold it on your tongue, let it go over your tongue, really let it coat your mouth and then begin to really taste it. And I am very open about, listen, there is no right or wrong answers here. How you nose it, how you taste it is completely up to you, and how you enjoy it is completely up to you. And whiskey is a very individualized experience. It's going to be different from this person to that person. And I just love watching all those interactions take place.
Okay. All right. So, and you personally, what is your favorite Kings County expression? So if you're, you're going to pull something, it's the end of the day, you want to go pour something.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. I will say my absolute favorite thing that we make is the Empire Rye. I absolutely love it. But right on its ankles is our latest bottled in bond.
Okay, I'm a rye guy, so yeah,
you're right. Yep.
I love it all. But yeah.
I will say Kings County has me spoiled. It is hard to impress me with a rye, but that's my favorite one.
So, what you talked a little bit about, you joined this organization, and that's kind of what opened the door to Kings County. What made you join the Women in Whiskey New York chapter? What was obviously you said you were into whiskey as a fan, and tell me a little bit about that kind of. What gave you that impetus to join that and a little bit more about the organization for people who might be interested in joining?
Yeah, so Women Who Whiskey, they have a bunch of locations across the states. But why I joined too, because I was at a place where I really wanted to get more into craft whiskey and, just getting the experience of what that meant. And, it was the thick of COVID too. And I was just like, I can't go out and enjoy certain places. So it's time for some virtual visits. And what I did find is that I do love the community of it. Even outside of Women Who Whiskey, I'm also part of Black Bourbon Society, which is great too. They have great events. It's a great community of people. And just that enthusiasm and the great people that you meet makes you want to learn about it even more. So those are the two big things I had joined that really transformed, the whiskey community, which has been great. As a woman in this industry, I will say it is a wonderful sisterhood. And I've met so many great women. I got aunties, I got sisters, I got, just chosen family that's really, really great to have.
That leads me perfectly into my next question. So this series is called Women in Whiskey, and when we started it, because we wanted to highlight all these great people who are doing these amazing things in the industry. But, I've heard that, yes, that term comes with a little subtext. So different people have different opinions on that. What is your opinion on the phrase women in whiskey?
I feel like it's been great. I've honestly worked with a lot of great women at Kings County too. From the bar side to the distillery, Kings County is filled with incredible women. But in the industry in itself, it just means women coming together who love whiskey, love teaching about it, love excelling in it, and then sharing it. The great part about it is each one teach one. And the community that's created behind it, whiskey kind of has that stigma of this is a male space. And it's really not anymore. I mean, in some places, yes, but women have been doing a ton of great work in the whiskey industry, and it's a joy to watch. So I'm happy to be a part of that.
Cool. So yeah, we always love to start to wind down these interviews with some fun questions, a little bit of lightheartedness. So the first question is, if you could have a drink anywhere in the world, what's your go-to city? Where's your favorite place to drink?
Where's my favorite place to? Honestly, South Carolina. Drinking. That's where my family's from. That's where the good old heart is. So me and some good barbecue and some good whiskey is where I go.
Okay, some barbecue, some Empire Rye from Kings County, and
there we go. I know. I actually was on vacation, and I definitely was like, "Where's my Empire Rye. So it goes with me.
And or if you can have a glass of that Empire Rye with one person, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Bernie Mac. I am a huge comedy lover. And when he passed, I felt like I lost my own uncle. It was one of those. But I would definitely love to have a glass of whiskey with Bernie Mac.
I was almost tempted. Had I had a glass of mine already, I would have been tempted to do my impression. I'm not going to. I'm not going to do it to you or the audience or anybody else, or to the, I don't want to get sued by the Matt family. Yeah, this has been amazing. So, Kelci, tell people where, how they can come check you out at Kings County. Tell them where they can follow you, as well as, just being able to come take an amazing tour.
Yeah, we welcome everybody. You can take a look at our website. You can follow us on our Instagram. There's a little blurb where you can just book your tour. You can book your tours online. I have an Instagram as well. It's just my name, Kelci. And you can, send me a message for anything. We'll get you set up and get you to the right people if you have any other questions. But please check out our website and our social media platforms. We are here to guide you.
Awesome. Kelci, thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate it. Yeah, it's, you guys, like you said, you're that ambassador. You're on the front lines as you're introducing people to these great spirits. So really appreciate you sharing your experience and sharing your stories with us.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. And thank you for having me. Come visit us.
All right. Well, I'm there. I've been past one or two times. I'm a fool for not being there sooner, but I'm going to get there very soon.
Yep.